Hello. Yeah, if I turn on my microphone here, then it works, but then you won't be able to hear anyone else. But I'm not sure. Yeah, but we can do like a chat thing here as well. Like I can just use the chat. Yeah, if I turn on my microphone, then it works, but then you won't be able to hear anyone else. Oh, I know it's like a thing on. It's a Zoom setting to actually. Oh, I can't remember it. I had the same issue before. Yeah, it doesn't matter. We can just do this. I'm not sure if anyone else is joining the Zoom anyways. Yeah, let's just wing it. And let me go to YouTube. Where's YouTube? YouTube. Or maybe I can do it just here, right here. Okay. Sorry about that. Like doing what's it called? Doing like a conference call thing at the same time as you're streaming your screen. It's just I had so much problems with that. And then god damn it, I remember you can get like system audio, but yeah, anyways, I'll leave it. And then if anyone has any questions, just ask in the comments, and then I can rather talk through it. So if you have any questions already, please just ask them now, and then I'll do my little. It's just a tiny introduction. It's more about like what you want from the project. So what we'll do is, okay, I'll keep the Zoom session open, but I'll let you at least see my face if I can figure out how to do that. God damn. Oh, where's that button? The scene. There we go. That one. How do I add the... Oh, god damn it. Where's the button to show the... Oh yeah, I guess I have to turn it on first. And then there's like a button thing. Is it this one? Oh, it's the other camera. I'm supposed to be... Oh, this is the one. There we are. Oh, cool. Is the audio okay? Yeah. Anyway, sorry about that. Yeah, so if you have any questions, just please start asking. And I'll go through the tiny presentation, and then maybe that's enough. And if not, maybe we can go into some discussions. You can join the Zoom call, but I'm not sure about sharing the audio there. I'll have to... I haven't really done this before. Okay, so anyways, it's been a while since... I remember back in the Cerebral days, we had a lot of these sessions online, and it's a lot of fun to just talk to each other and especially show each other projects and discuss things. But yeah, through the end of like the active development on Cerebral, it kind of dampened off. I think I just didn't have time, and other people didn't have time either. But maybe this can be like the start of doing something similar again, because it's a lot of fun to get to know each other. Yeah, and also like I'm I'm pretty grown up now. I have like 2 kids, and yeah, it's a lot of work to... you have to put a lot of energy into your family to make it work. So, and that's the way it should be. But yeah, especially during the last half year, I haven't had much time to work on Overmind. But now that has changed. So there's a pending release now, at least. And it fixes just quite a few bugs, and I updated the documentation quite a bit. And yeah, so the question is like, what happens after that? But anyways, so what we try to do with Overmind is like what triggered Overmind was TypeScript, really. So we worked on Cerebral, and there wasn't like any clear vision of Cerebral. It was just this concept of a single state tree, and then having the dev tools, which kind of drove the API design of Cerebral. But then TypeScript happened, and we had to do something because the API of Cerebral didn't work out with TypeScript. There were some abstractions built on top of it, but it was never like built for it from scratch. So that needed to be fixed. And kind of through the development of Cerebral, there were some very clear concepts. And those concepts were having a reactive state tree. So unlike Redux, where you just have like a state tree, it should be it should be reactive. Well, you could say that Redux is kind of reactive because you can subscribe to the store. But what I mean when I say reactive is that you can react to every single change in the tree. Like you can point to specific parts of the tree and react to that. And then also having actions and effects. And the effects is quite different than other solutions. Typically, and that's, yeah, very typically, you just import external tools directly into your application logic. But with Overmind, it's a very strong concept of effects. So you shouldn't really do any like external tooling imports in your application logic, in your actions. You should build effects so that you can expose a more domain-specific API that your application logic actually kind of can relate to. Makes it easier to understand the application as well. And it's even being tracked by Overmind, which is pretty cool. Yeah, and the other thing that we learned from Cerebral is that it's quite exotic, the API. It's a functional API, but it has the template literal tags and has like an array of functions and stuff. So what I wanted to do was to have like this basic approach of just a function where you can do plain imperative logic, because most of your logic is best expressed that way, in my opinion. And then if you need functional superpowers, you can like do that. That's where the operators come in. So operators typically help you with like time complexity, especially like throttling and delaying things and stuff like that. And then like at the end of the day, it's about just making everyone productive. So Overmind's like quote is, it's like application development is about defining, changing, and consuming state to produce a user experience. And that's really the core of what we're doing. And it's about spending as much time as possible doing exactly that. And I think overall, what we tried to do when we started Overmind, we have kind of achieved, I think. Like we're using this at Code Sandbox, and like it's an insanely complex application, and these strong concepts of this reactive state tree, actions and effects, has really helped us a ton. The reactive state tree makes it super fast in components in terms of reconciliation and stuff. There's no unnecessary reconciliation by React. And the effects makes sure that we don't mess up our code with a ton of different imports all over the place. We have very explicit APIs. And then we have our actions, and everything's written in TypeScript, which makes everything very discoverable. So yeah, what I'm trying to say is like, I feel like Overmind is like done. It has achieved what it set out to achieve. That doesn't mean like nothing can change, but I wouldn't try to like make it, at least the core shouldn't be any more than what it is. At least that's how I think about it right now. So like the principles for me for introducing new features or like changes in Overmind is that there shouldn't, and this is general really, there shouldn't be any theoretical improvements. Very often you can look at APIs, or you can have you can think about the concept and it would be so cool if we could do this, or if we could write this syntax instead, it would be so much cleaner. But it has to be like a real use case. That's really important. And ideally it should be multiple people having the same use case. Also, a second thing is that it cannot be achieved with existing APIs. I often get suggestions, and it's kind of hard to evaluate because to me, every scenario I haven't been in myself becomes an edge case. So for me personally, it is an edge case. And if you can solve an edge case with the existing API, then we shouldn't introduce new APIs just to write less code. But again, it's like, to me personally, it becomes an edge case. Maybe that's not correct. So it's important if you want to introduce a new feature that you get some other people to join in as well, because then it becomes less of an edge case for me. But yeah, this things, it's also about like introducing new API and changes, especially additions. Just makes everyone who goes into the library, they need to learn more, which is not ideal. But yeah, and then we also have the possibility, like this first class concept of state, actions, and effects. It's actually really, really nice to build upon. So the GraphQL package and the state chart package doesn't use any special API from Overmind. It's just a wrapper over action, state, and effects. So I would much rather have add-ons than new features in the library. Let me follow along on if there are any. Hi, Lily. Oh, no worries. Oh, there you are. Let's see. I'll put you into the chat here. And I guess I can hear you, but I don't know if anyone else can hear you. Okay. Let's see. Could you try to say something, Lily?
Hey.
Oh yeah, and it's a little bit delayed on the. God damn it! Oh, this is horrible.
Okay. Hi. Oh wait. I don't know.
Wait a minute.
I had the.
Select the. Oh. I'm not sure how we should do this.
Yeah.
Because you can hear me okay, right? Because I'm using my.
Yes. But it's not streaming to YouTube, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it is. Let's see. Now that I have you here. Oh, there is a button I'm supposed to click inside Zoom to share the audio, and I did this before. I did a session with Evas, and then we were like, oh yeah, you just have to click that button, and then everything works as it's supposed to. And I can't remember where it was. It's so annoying. But I could. Does anyone know that? Oh, you can hear. Oh, okay. Okay, I think it's okay. Let's just try this, and I'll delay is 5. Okay. Oh wait, no, it does work.
It works.
Yeah. Now I'm sharing. Okay, I think this will work.
Okay.
Let's try
it. Sorry for being late. Yeah,
no
I
worries.
just heard the fact that you don't want to blow up Overmind and a ton of new things, right?
Yeah, I guess that's the way it's always been. Like, yeah, and I guess that's the thing with like being author of a library as well. You kind of get all these suggestions, and you kind of become this person that constantly, just as a principle, hold back. But yeah, it doesn't mean, as I just said, it's like what we tried to achieve with Overmind when we started. I feel like we have achieved that now, but like new things pop up all the time, new approaches and patterns and strategies. So strategies on building applications. So it doesn't mean like we should stop now, but at least the core feels very finished. But that's something we can discuss, of course. But yeah, maybe I can just run through the rest of the presentation, and then we can talk. So one thing I wanted to talk about is that when we got into Overmind and typing, I was relatively new to TypeScript, and I believe at the time I had been working with C#. Anyways, I had some influences that put me in this position where I thought like left side typing is the best way to do it, because then you can define a variable, say what you want to have in that variable, and then TypeScript will help you when you actually type the code on the right side. But it's actually not, and this is like a big discussion in several libraries, even React. It's like, do you do react.fc, like function component or whatever, or do you just type the prop as an argument? And there's like back and forth on what's the best approach to do that. But at least for Overmind, I think it's way better to not do that left side typing, but rather type the context itself, and then the payload itself, and then it will infer the return type. So you basically just give it the context, And from that, Overmind will understand that this is a valid action. And then you just type the payload as normal, and you don't have to type the returned result because that's typically inferred. And it opens up for generics. So with the left side typing, there was no way to do generics, but now you can do that. And that's a powerful concept that you really should be able to do with any function. But with the left side typing, we kind of force you out of that, which is not ideal, especially with operators and stuff. So what this also leads to is like we had all these internal types in Overmind, and then we had, god damn it, hello, are we back? God damn it. My internet died. Oh my god. I can't believe it. How much did we lose there? Where did I... let me see. Let me join the Zoom call again. I can't believe this. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
It's okay. Hi.
Where did it stop?
A long time ago.
Did you hear anything about the typing?
Yes,
Yeah,
just this
somewhere,
part.
yeah.
Yeah, left typing is bad.
Yeah,
Now I know.
okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, for generics, I was stumbling on this exact thing like 2 weeks ago. I was thinking,
Yeah,
I need generics now.
yeah.
Yeah, anyway.
Exactly. So a quick conclusion on the typing is that I'll put up an issue first on GitHub so that to ask people if they want to refactor their code base to have this typing, or if we should just allow both, or how we should do it. But this would kind of be the result of it. We just have one way to do the typing. It's importing iContext, extending it, and then you just use context wherever. And then you have access to...
function and
Yeah. Then you have generics and all the good things. And there's like only one type that you really need. So
it's context.
yeah. And it will also clean up a ton of typing inside Overmind.
That's good. I like this
Yeah.
typing cleaning stuff.
Yeah. And it's kind of weird. Like, how did we kind of... It's just because TypeScript is such a beast. And... yeah, you kind of get whirled into it, and when we found that implicit typing thing, we kind of allowed the typing to become complex, because from a consumption standpoint, you didn't really have to think that much about it. But yeah, anyways, you learn.
I think we're growing up with TypeScript right now.
Yeah,
Like it takes some time to just find the right things and how they get together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's kind of the one thing that I personally would love to change inside Overmind. But other than that, I don't have any like specific things I'm thinking about and think is really important to do. But that's only based on my own experience and using it in Code Sandbox and so on. But where I would love to spend more time is to actually write some more guides, because there are these things that we generally try to solve, and it's like, how do you solve that in Overmind? So we have, for example, guides for managing lists and stuff, which is like, it doesn't matter if it's Overmind or something else, that's kind of a complicated problem. And there are other problems like that as well, or challenges. And then generally the documentation is needs more love. Documentation can't get enough love. And I didn't realize that there were a bunch of PRs on the website. I thought Gitbook would kind of notify me if anyone contributed, but it doesn't. I have to go to the repo that Gitbook kind of uses. So I'll make sure that I'll continue doing that. But yeah, other than that, I don't have anything special I want to see in Overmind, but I'm curious to hear if you have anything you want to see in Overmind, or challenges. Or
I have like I'm working with this big project, and it's really like we're getting a lot of people in it.
Yeah.
and that's hundreds of people in an app, and who should be interacting, and everything has to be so fast. So
Mhm.
um, I have two things I want to do. The first one is starting to release the libraries I feel are stable now, that are built on top of Overmind,
Mhm.
like the library for dates, for localization, for drag and drop, and all these little bits that help,
Yeah.
and like also plug things together. So that's just a way that I use to structure things, and it can be useful or it can be just examples.
Mhm.
The other thing is performance. I will have to find a trick, and probably I don't know how it will work, but I kind of miss Cerebral performance. Like there was a way in Cerebral that you could optimize specific hot spots so that they don't update too often.
Mhm.
And now I have too many updates.
Yeah.
Um, I'm refactoring the editor. I have a live editor in built on with Overmind.
Mhm.
And this is crazy. Like, when you type, things have to update so fast. And if you update anything too much, it slows down the typing and
Yeah.
everything starts to lag.
Yeah.
So I'm really making this thing as fast as possible. Also, just updating the part of the content that is changed, not the wrapping object or the parent or the parent of the parent, just trying to be specific.
Mhm.
So maybe this is enough, but maybe not. And then probably I'm looking into a way of having explicit dependency on certain objects, like saying this object receives the non proxified object,
Mhm.
and it has to declare itself what it needs. And so it's just no proxy object.
Mhm.
It's a bit weird. It's like a mix of Cerebral and Overmind, but
Okay.
just for the very, very special, some fast needing, I don't know, maybe it's not required. Maybe there's another way.
Mhm.
I hope there is. I don't know. That's just my thing. Right now, it's really too slow. I have to,
But are
and I
you?
can put React memo everywhere. It's like, I think there's a better way to do that.
Yeah, it would be. Maybe we could do like a. It would be super interesting. Maybe we could do like a stream, and we can look at the issues, and then we could talk about like optimizing access and stuff. But I just wanted to ask: are you running the DevTools? Because Overmind is quite slower in development, especially if the DevTools is connected.
No, no, no. It was just too much for DevTools. Like,
Okay.
I'm loading right now. I'm loading the full database with all the objects, and they're encrypted, and they're quite heavy with memory and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all in the tree. So I can optimize by removing objects from the state tree. So that's part of optimization.
Yeah.
And of course, I have to find a way to measure things. Like, I cannot just optimize blindly.
Yeah.
So probably, like, there was this thing that was flashing. I think it's React that does that, or I have to find it back.
Yeah.
When you can have the updates flash.
Oh yeah. I don't remember the name of it, but yeah, there are
Yeah,
tools
so
that allows you to, and like why did I render or something is also a
yes,
tool.
I have to check some of these.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things I can do on my part. I've
Mm-hmm.
been really lazy on optimization right until now, not crazy optimizing.
Yeah.
But maybe so I can solve it like this, but maybe not. Like, there are something very weird regarding to parent objects and lists, basically. Like, if you have a database in the state tree and you update the database, adding new objects,
Mm-hmm.
existing objects re-render a lot. And because the parent object is modified, but somehow it shouldn't.
Yeah, that's really mind-bending. Like if you haven't, if we think of an object and an array as the same thing, because you can
Yeah.
add things to it and remove from it, it's like there's two ways to look at an item or look at it. You can look at the list itself. So if you, let's call it to-dos, you can say state.todos in a component. And then you're looking at the actual list. And then what Overmind expects is that if you're looking at this thing and you add something or you remove something on it, then you need to reconcile that component again. But then it's like if you access, for example, state to-dos and then 0, for example, then you have also pointed to the list in that component, which means that even though you in the code you kind of point to the first item, you have still gone through the list.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah,
exactly.
and that is why there is this optimization trick where you don't access items in the component. What you rather do is that you only access the list, and then when you, for example, map over that list to produce new components, you send the items to another component as a property. And then you use Overmind hook inside that item component, but you don't access any state. It's just to transfer the tracking ownership of that single item. And that makes so that only the list component, and if you do a React memo on top of that, what you achieve then is that the parent list will only render if something is added or removed to the list. And then the item component will only render if something has happened to the item it has ownership of. But lists is the worst.
So this is probably what I will first go through to make sure that I don't use the parent list in the child or things like this, or some globals that I can avoid, or there's like indirections that can be used, and there's little tricks everywhere. So and probably that solves it, and then there's nothing more to do to make it work, hopefully. It's a bit messy, but probably it doesn't require anything special. But if it does, then it would be to have, but like we know that when we have explicit dependency, then we have stuck items that don't render when they should render, and this is also bad. So
but I think it sounds like because the way I understand it, this project, the main focus has been like the functionality and create the project, and that's typical for projects. You do like the optimizations last, and then but it's so good when you need to dive into optimizations to have an actual project to make it better.
Because I just optimize what needs to and you are sure you're doing it right. Like for now I'm loading the full database into memory, and it's cool, but it's not necessary like for messages, and so now I can start to move things out. And if the UI is actually slower, then it tells a lot about the right choices or not. So the right time. And also for publishing the modules, I've learned a lot on how to organize big projects. Like now I have about 25 modules for like everything. And it starts to be clear how they can interact with one another without depending totally on the other one. Like registering stuff that are used by other modules. And that was kind of difficult and it works. So maybe it can be useful to someone else.
That would be, especially as examples, but even if it's like generic enough to have it as like on the add-ons list on the website, that would be amazing.
I think the build thing hasn't moved for a year now, nearly. And the job of the build thing is just to group states, configurations, and typings, and setup, and initialization, and everything from different modules together. And it's super simple to use, and so probably this one can be used without. I tried to make it so you don't have to pull the whole package.
Cool. Cool, cool.
Yeah, but it's an interesting time. I mean, it's really becoming, like used by real people on
Yeah,
laptops, tablets, phones. It's exciting.
that's awesome. You've been working on this for a long
And
time.
yeah, and the reactiveness of everything, and I know that optimization will make it even more snappy and all. And no, I really enjoy Overmind, and I hope this project can also, yeah, just push forward that it can be used for big things too. And yeah, if I can make some parts open source, to show examples,
Yeah, yeah.
because
It's the biggest challenge. It's just like getting noticed. I sometimes I go on Google and I do like a search for Overmind and see if something pops up, and I do see people like writing some short articles, and I've seen a couple of videos and stuff. But and that's super awesome. But I think like to properly get like noticed, I often refer to the story of MobX. That was and even XState as well, because the MobX was called Mobservable. I was there when Michelle had the first presentation of Mobservable, and nobody understood it. And then it just kept iterating, did a ton of conferences, changed it to MobX, kind of rebranded it, and then people discovered it. And it's the same with XState. Like David, he does a ton of conferences. That's how people know about it. But it's good technology, so but it's kind of a requirement to get noticed. And in these days, it's impossible to kind of. Well, I guess there are like remote conferences, but yeah. So I think that's kind of the place where things really get noticed. But to me, it's not that important to be like popular or anything like that. It's just having a tool that makes whoever uses it productive. And I've had a ton of fun using it, and like with Code Sandbox as well. Like we could never have, like moving to TypeScript was like critical for us, and it would be just a horrible job without Overmind. So that's been super awesome. But yeah, I saw Tyler also had questions on organize the community. Like, that's the one thing I've never really, like, I've done a ton of open source and like maintaining projects and stuff. I learned a lot, but like engaging the community, that's something I haven't really figured out how to do yet. I'm not sure how that happens. How do you kind of get this engaging community around a project? But at least one thing that has to be there is I kind of have to be present, I think. So there are no like lingering PRs and stuff. And also people ask questions like, what can I do to help? And then I've typically said, please help with documentation. And then I didn't know about the PRs to the documentation. So I kind of failed totally on that. So, but yeah, so the best thing is really to oh, you asked on Discord. Yeah, I'll check that. But yeah, the best way to like organize or to help the project is to write articles and help with the documentation. Hi, Tyler.
Yeah, and I don't know how long the call will last. I need to jump into a call real quick in a sec.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to say, yeah, I also have used a little Overmind, really enjoy it. I see two opportunities, or one feature and then one opportunity to growth is AngularJS. I know it's an old framework, but it has an important number of developers. And I think it should be technically possible to add bindings to it, and maybe that would be a whole market to tap into. And then the other one is sometimes when I think about like bigger projects that have a huge state that will probably look very different in a page or another, like a way to load or unload a state with different shapes at different moments at different pages in Overmind.
Yeah.
You have got that request before?
Yeah, like there is this lazy loading concept which was like quickly implemented, but not in the context of its purpose. It was more of a technical thing, but the way you explain it there, it makes a lot of sense. And it started out as this very like static instance, and like this big thing that was going to cover your whole app instead of being this little thing where you could have multiple instances and kind of do what you want. But there's nothing wrong with making changes so that can work. And we already have done a few changes to allow that, but there is no clear story on how to do that. So loading up pieces of state action, different pages. Yeah. And I think maybe some of these things might also be tie into just having good guides on that, because that's also a specific thing, like just like managing lists, lazy loading pieces of Overmind related to a router, for example. That's also could be a really good guide. Yeah, it's the same Tyler. Yeah.
It is. My handle on the Discord is AgriTheory. I'm new to Overmind, but I'm really happy to be here. This is of all the state management things that I have tried, this is the one that makes sense.
It's nice there.
Yeah. So.
I totally agree.
Yeah. In terms of doing converses and stuff, this is, even being new to the community, this is a way that I personally think it can help. I run a local Python meetup. I do a lot of meetups, and I'm comfortable with that kind of thing. So if that's an area where it's not your first instinct to be the thing that you do is to organize people, it's a way I can help, even without knowing my way around the project particularly well.
Yeah.
And I'm probably not alone there. There's probably people who are comfortable with that kind of role who are also not on the call.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and thinking about this, and a lot of people have this position where they kind of, okay, I want to help, I just don't know what to do or how I can help. But maybe that we could just be very explicit about that. So on the website, we could actually have a page which says, I want to help, or something related to that. And then we could say, okay, you can do a conference thing or a talk. And could even have like suggestions on some slides. And if someone has a presentation, we could link to the slides on that page, so to get inspiration and stuff. And and like how does it work to contribute to the documentation? Because you have to click the button and you have to create the PR, and what happens after that, and stuff like that. So yeah, maybe we could contribute.
And Christian, you remember this thing I was working on to do?
Sorry about the crying, by the way. If you,
it's so nice. I miss the crying. You remember this thing I was working on to make live visuals, and you plug and play little bits of code?
Yes.
Because this thing is still live. It's based on everything else. I have some small issues trying to figure out how this open source thing cannot be used to just screw me. Like, because there's a very specific part related to music that's out of it. but the whole data management, cryptography, messaging, this thing is just has to be part of it. But if I can find a way to license that so that another company cannot just use this code and has better firepower and just screw me, because that I would feel quite bad about that. I think it would be a really great project to work. It's a big project to collaborate, and it's super sexy. I mean, it's something that you can live code in TypeScript, and it shows the errors and everything, and the results are visuals for concerts that sync to music. So that's kind of the thing that can be super cool to show at a conference and say, okay, this is done with Overmind, and all the code is there to read for you if you want to, and see how it works. And it's fucking complicated. Like, it does all the graphic SVG management stuff. So there's an example of that. It does the talking between two apps in different browser parts, sending code compilation and back and forth. So it's kind of complicated, and it shows a sort of big thing, how it works. But at the same time, I think it can be good because people can see how the typing helps, how everything self-documents because of how state is so simple. So yeah, if this is a project that is interesting for some people working on it together, I mean, I would be so happy.
Yeah, that's. I also I did this stream because I build these native apps for my girlfriend and me, like some family apps on the organizing and the grocery shopping stuff. And I did a stream where I refactored that native app into Overmind as part of exploring state machines and stuff. But yeah, that's also a really cool idea to like have an application that's meant to be developed as part of the community. So if you want to like get to understand how a code base looks and something you can even contribute to and get some ownership in, that was kind of the intention of the stream. Building that app was, at some point I was going to like open it up, but then, as typically happens with me, I kind of get a little bit bored and then I do something else and then I don't finish that. But I actually picked it up yesterday again. So actually it's in a state where it can be developed further. So I could do that as well. And then you could add your project to that list as well.
Yeah, I think we should find ways to do some sexy stuff and push it forward. Whatever we do.
Having a showcase section in the contributing or community page is a way to do this.
Yeah, there's this other project where they're doing, and I think the video part is super nice. If people can do like a 30-second presentation on their project, like, I'm using Overmind, this is what my app looks like, or this is, just from the outside, just, click, look. It works, it's sexy, it's not a toy. This is really nice. I mean, that's what I tend to look at when I search for a library. I go to the, like, what do they have? What kind of projects do they have? And then I try to have a feeling of, do they all look the same? Because that's showing that the library is pushing forward one way of thinking. And then I'm like, that's maybe not good. And then, do that look professional, or is it just, a toy that's just starting up, or does it look finished?
Yeah.
And it really takes a couple of screenshots or 30 seconds GIF. Can be really easy to do. So maybe an open call for people using Overmind to create this kind of stuff. Like, make, we had this for early presentations, like things so people can use them also when they do talks. Look, this is built with that. This thing they talked about is built,
Yeah, exactly.
And we need this. I mean, it's not like this is just nice. We need it because we need this project to live for a long time. And if we have no recognition for the work, validation or feedback, like you said, it's tiring.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly.
I think, yeah.
It's not easy to find either. I asked on Discord a couple of weeks ago if anybody had done a project with Nuxt, and Martin, whose last name I can't remember, gave basically stripped out some business logic code and then put his entire front end in a repo and said, here you go. It's fabulous. It's got all the tricks. It's a really, really great example, even if it isn't fully functional, just looking at a code base of somebody saying, this is most of a production application. You're welcome.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Martin, was it Martin?
Martin, I think it's in random. It's on the Discord.
Yeah, I have to check that. Yeah, that's a good...
Sorry, Morgan Martin. Martin's the last name.
Oh, Morgan.
And his handle is Styx, Styxe. I guess is how I'd pronounce that.
Yeah, I'll just write Styx. And let's see, I wanted to, before I have to pick up my daughter in kindergarten, so I just wanted to make sure I got to everyone's questions. There's a question about how to handle forms, keep it in Overmind state, keep it on the view side, just commit the result to the Overmind. Yeah, like that's like the big question is the local state versus Overmind state in this context. And personally, I tend to use Overmind to hold that state. And with forms, especially if it's really complex forms, it can be a really good thing, because you get the granular updates. So if your form has multiple components, nested components, where, for example, one component deals with addresses and stuff, then you will kind of only look at the addresses portion of the form within those components, and then you avoid other things updating when that happens. But just having the share insight, because a form also has validation and stuff, and it's really complicated in terms of state, like surprisingly complicated. And having that insight with the dev tools, where you always can see what is the state of the different fields and everything, that's super beneficial. But like in terms of performance and stuff, it needs to be really, really complicated, a complicated form to kind of get performance issues with having it in the, like in typical React views where you have this immutable approach. But yeah, I guess that we did have a forms package for Cerebral, and I'm very open to having an official forms package for Overmind, because we did, I don't remember the specifics, but we did some really cool things with Cerebral in terms of validation. And you have all these things, when should it validate, when you focus, when you blur, and all these things. And we had a really good way of managing that. But yeah, so yeah, short answer is does not really matter, I think, but the more complex the form becomes, the more benefits I think you get from putting it inside Overmind. And then the other question was related to Code Sandbox. It's quite complicated. Yeah, to see good practices. Yeah. Yeah, the good practices. Yeah, so we touched on. So one of them is I see that often, like with my colleagues who are, well, at least newer to Overmind than me, is that they don't honor the effects. They kind of, whenever there's some new npm install or some browser API or like looking at the cookies or something, they have a tendency to just do that in an action instead of like thinking about what am I actually trying to do with the browser API. and be more explicit about that and put it behind an effect. So we have like a method that actually exposes the actual intention of using the browser API, as an example. And like in Code Sandbox, we even have an effect called browser. And one of those APIs is like open pop-up. And the cool thing about that is when you start putting stuff behind these effects, you can make these really powerful APIs. So open pop-up at Code Sandbox returns a promise, which resolves when that pop-up is closed. And you can even, not necessarily when it's even closed, you can even listen to certain events. So if the window that is open sends a certain event back to Code Sandbox, that is the trigger for closing it, for example. And that's just behind like a single method. So it makes the action super clear. So I would say like that's at least the most important practice, is to really put stuff behind these effects so that you have a very clean API to work with in your actions. But of course, there are tons of other practices as well. And this is what I really want to put focus on with guides and more documentation, is to share these good practices. Yeah.
That pop-up example is worth the video for sure.
Yeah. Exactly. Just need to figure out how to manage many different Overmind stores, because sorry. But yeah, I kind of have to go. But this was super nice. It's been so long since I said that in the intro, Lily, that with Cerebral we had some really great sessions. It became like almost a weekly thing. And there were so many surprises, people showing off these amazing projects, and
and a ton of babies.
Yeah. Oh, they're ruining everything, these babies. Oh no, but this was super nice. I'm going to create an issue where I kind of summarize the stuff that we talked about with some actual actions, like I want to do this, want to do this, want to do this, and then I really want to do more like this. Maybe we could have, like we did with Cerebral, kind of showing off. It doesn't even have to be Overmind related, but something fun you're working on. Or maybe you have a challenge in Overmind, and just do a session and talk about it. It's super nice.
A way to do that, it doesn't need to be the only way, but a way that people are familiar with would be to just do it as a global meetup, where you set an agenda for every month, which can be office hours or a specific application presentation, lightning talks, right? There's a lot of ways, formulas to do that.
Yeah.
And people will tune in when they see something that really interests them, or if they need a hand with something. And it seems to work. It works in a pandemic. This is that another thing that I'd be happy to help with.
Yeah, that would be super cool. Maybe we could just do that first, like give it a few weeks now, and then ask people if they want to show something, and then just do a meetup. Like it doesn't have to be very organized. It's just, as you say, right. People just meet, and then we have prepared some stuff to show off, and then let it flow.
I've found that speeches don't build community as much as somebody saying, "Give me all your problems.
Yeah.
How can I help?"
Exactly. Yeah. Unless there's someone's itching to say something, I think I'll just close this now. And then thanks for showing up and talking. This makes me like super encouraged to keep working on the project as well. So this is super awesome. Great.
Yeah, thanks a lot for all the hard work.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you, Christian.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye for now.